Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast as we share the truth concerning these last days and what you must do to save yourself from the violent times that are just ahead. Today's podcast is a word of truth accounting of the end times. The end is coming. The end is near. Today's podcast is entitled End Times 326, an overview of the mind. A high-level overview of the mind and the dimension of thought. The podcast objectives are analyze the damage doubt does within our minds, analyze the natures of our spiritual and physical mind, and reveal how our minds generate and inform thought. This lesson contains timelines and other visuals. Therefore, if you are listening to the podcast, I advise you to watch the video version on our website or YouTube, or request a PDF of the lesson so you can add the visual effect. Undoing the damage of doubt. Shalom, my beloved brothers and sisters, and welcome to day 50 of our exposition of lawlessness. In the most recent podcast, we analyzed the relationship between fear and self-reliance, i.e., the critical degree of doubt. In today's podcast, we will begin a shift in our lessons on doubt. To wit, we will move forward from focusing on the progression and the degrees of doubt to the division of our beings that doubt is designed to plague. That is, our mind, vis-a-vis the gateway into our souls. As you have learned from prior podcasts, the mind is a primary location of all spiritual warfare. For as the mind is the gateway to the soul, our enemies must first penetrate our minds to invade our hearts and ultimately dictate our will. Therefore, to understand the immense danger of doubt, we must first understand the landscape of the mind, which is one of the three divisions of our thought dimension. By definition, the thought dimension is the sum of all the mental faculties required to generate and inform thought, which is the foundation of all our voluntary activities. The process is as thus. Our thought dimension forms an informed thought, which is then transferred into our hearts, where it becomes an intention, which is then transferred into our will, where it becomes a voluntary action. Now, here you have a diagram of the thought dimension, and we will analyze this diagram in the upcoming slides. As you can see by the diagram to the right, the two other divisions of our thought dimension are commonly known as the left brain and the right brain. These divisions of our thought dimension represent the gateways into our souls, providing physical and spiritual input into our minds. On this wise, the left brain feeds our mind with physical data points that will provide our minds with a factor of logic in the process of thought generation. As you would expect, our right brain does the exact opposite. Vis-a-vis, it feeds our mind with spiritual data points that will provide a factor of creativity in thought generation. Now, some may be asking, what does this all have to do with doubt? To wit, why do we need to understand the makeup of our mind and the landscape of our thought dimension in this exposition of doubt? The answer is sure, and I will offer it as an interest point. The only way to eliminate doubt and all the degrees of lawlessness is by first understanding the damage they do to our beings. And this requires us to, at the very least, have a fundamental understanding of the facets of our being that are being impacted and thus destroyed by lawlessness. In the case of doubt, we have already proven that it is designed to compromise our minds. Therefore, the only way to eliminate doubt in all its degrees is by understanding the nature of our mind and undoing the damage doubt has done to it throughout the years. Spiritual mind, the physical mind. Now, in the order of better understanding the nature of our beings, it is important to note that the mind is a division of the soul, and the soul constitutes 1/3 of our being. The other 2/3 are the flesh and the spirit divisions. As you can see by the image to the right, the soul is at the center of our being. It is flanked by our flesh on the one side and the spirit on the other side. Along these lines, our soul receives input from both our spiritual man and our physical man, again, of the spiritual and physical variety. Let's progress this discussion by analyzing the evolution of our physical and spiritual minds, beginning with the former. On this wise, our left brain receives physical stimuli via a neurotransmitter receptor. These physical stimuli are then passed to our sensory region via the receptor, activating our sensory region where our left brain begins interpreting the stimuli within the zone of logic. It is within this zone that our minds begin analyzing the stimuli with the intent of determining what is fact versus what is fiction. It is a problem-solving region which seeks to authenticate our physical perspective on life by establishing what is concrete and what is real. In like manner, our right brain, i.e., our spiritual mind, receives spiritual stimuli, activating our sensory region in the same manner our left brain receives physical stimuli. And yet, here is the difference. Whereas the sensory region of our left brain is highlighted by a zone of logic, the sensory region of our right brain is highlighted by a zone of creativity. It is within this creativity zone that our spiritual mind seeks to create a conceptual model of the stimuli we have received. In doing so, it does not limit itself to what is tangible and concrete from a physical perspective. Rather, it possesses and employs the power of imagination to ascertain the breadth and the height of the stimuli to establish what is true. For truth exists on a higher plane than fact. The same way, our spirit division exists on a higher plane than our physics. The process of thought generation. Now, the progression of this analysis brings us front and center with one of the most critical processes as it pertains to our war with doubt. That is, the process of thought generation. Let's talk about it. Now, on the one hand, our physical minds interpret what is fact, while our spiritual mind interprets what is true. These interpretations, then, are passed on to our thought processing centers, as you can see by the diagram to the right. From there, our spiritual and physical interpretations of a uniform set of stimuli enter our minds. After which, the various mental faculties of our mind produce an informed thought, which, in the sure course of time, will become an action. And the sum of these actions, my friends, will determine your destiny. They will determine where you spend eternity. And thus, I'll say it again. Understanding this development is crucial if you are to eliminate doubt and all its degrees. And trust me, we are only operating at a high level. We are barely scratching the surface for many reasons, but for one reason above the rest. My dear friends, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Time is of the essence. And thus, I am limiting these podcasts to what you need to know. Notwithstanding, for those who desire a deeper understanding of these matters, I will invite you to reach out to me in today's assignment and in future assignments. By the grace of Elohim, I have written 4 volumes on these topics, and I am in the process of writing 2 more. Therefore, I ask you to hear me when I say, I don't know a lot of things. I don't know most things. And for the most part, I don't know much of anything. But what I do know, I have been led to share with this audience and to avail myself to you as you seek to obtain the seal of Elohim while you have the chance. Now, here is the final word. Those who live in doubt will sink, for they have no clue as to how they think. My dear friends, you must believe me. Your victory over doubt begins with you understanding the makeup of your mind and the damage doubt is doing to this crucial aspect of your being. Therefore, we will continue our analysis of your thought dimension and your mind, and then you will clearly see the path to overcoming doubt is centered on your thought processes. For as a man thinketh, so shall he be. Now, here is today's assignment. Meditate on the word you have heard today. And as always, ask the Father to reveal the truth to you. For the children of Elohim live by conviction. And if he has not convicted you, or if you had not heard him concerning these matters, you should pray until you do. Today, I want you to meditate on the process in which we generate thoughts as you are led by the Spirit. And very soon, I will use this process to show you how doubt plagues our minds. And if you would like additional information on the divisions of our thought dimension, please feel free to reach out to me. For as we are fearfully and wonderfully made, the makeup of our minds is a truly fascinating study. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, End Times 326, an overview of the mind. And the next podcast is entitled End Times 327, The Process of Thought Generation, Part 1. I will post this podcast on Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. Until then, my friends, continue to be led by the Spirit of Elohim. Continue to watch, continue to pray, continue in fasting, and most of all, continue to be focused for the end is coming. The end is near.